From time to time, you will run into a little bit of a CSS problem. Either that's because you didn't quite code your CSS correctly, again from top to bottom, or you did and you just really need to stress something. Something being a declaration. Let's say you have a background color of black, but when you go to use your @media rule of print, so when someone goes to print the page, you're going to want to change that background color to white so that the printer doesn't try to print the background. In that case, you would use an important statement. So let's take a look at exactly how this works. If we had two body selectors, the first one had font weight of bold and the second one font weight of normal. Well, if our code looked like this, then our font weight for our body would be normal. The bold font weight has the important tag, which adds more importance, it adds more weight to it, and it overrides everything below it. So no matter how many times you try to change the font weight in any other style that's inside the body, the font weight is not going to change. Unless, of course, you declared another important statement, like so. Now if you declared another one, then the one closest to the bottom of your page is going to take effect, but you really want to be careful when you use the important statement. Just because it adds more weight to your declaration, and it tells the browser that this is very, very important, do not overwrite this for any reason, unless there's another important tag. You can end up in kind of a circle, where you use one important here, then another one here, and then you use another one down the line, and then you use another one 5 styles later, and then it just becomes a circle of important statements. So like I said, the only way to overwrite or remove an important statement is to use another important statement. So you cannot technically remove it, but you can create another important statement that will overwrite the last one. Now, I highly, highly recommend not using the important statement just to change the styling of one class or an element. And you might be asking, why? If it's there, it's convenient, I'm having a problem with it, and this fixes my problem, then why should I not use it? Just because as a newer developer, it's a lot better practice if you can start coding your code correctly and realize where everything else should go. So why should you not use important all the time? Well, that's because it will create a vicious circle of important statements. And this important statement will end up flooding your CSS page and you will see it everywhere. A large majority of web developers at one point or another created a web page that was just flooded with important statements, kind of like how you see here, where it's everywhere. You don't want to see that because then one leads to another, leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. Instead, write more code and specify a new class or an ID for the element that you're trying to style, or nest it or group it with something a little bit higher up in your page, or lower if it works better that way. But if you can, take the time to look at your CSS and restructure it so that you don't need any important statements at all. Just think of the important statement as your backup plan when there's no other option available.